give you our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Craig Stamen. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. As today, the Padres take on the Los Angeles Angels in the final and rubber game of a 3-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Angels, right-hander Walbert Urania, and for the Padres, right-hander Michael King. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you from inside Angel Stadium here in Anaheim. First pitch coming up at 1:07 p.m. as the Padres go for a series win. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we have a lot to do. You'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stamen. I go one-on-one with former Padres pitcher Mark Langston. We have a terrific conversation, and in just a little bit, we're joined by Tony Gwynn Jr. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971, with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres enter today 14-7. They have won 12 of their past 14 games. Padres trying to win a 5th consecutive series here today. Padres are in the midst of a long road trip. 1 more game here in Anaheim, 3 in Colorado this coming week, and then 2 games against the D-backs in Mexico City next weekend. Meanwhile, the Angels come in 11-11, a fairly impressive start considering they've had a tough early season schedule. The team's first 8 series of the season feature 6 teams that made the postseason last year. Angels will play the Blue Jays after this one. Padres had an 8-game win streak snapped on Friday night. They were looking to even this series last night here at the Big A. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
I don't know if we expected an early pitcher's duel last night, but that's exactly what we got from Yusei Kikuchi and German Marquez. In the second, Marquez got a little help from Jackson Merrill.
This one in the air to deep right center field. Fernando is back. Merrill is back. Merrill's calling for it. He leaps up, and he took one away. The Angels will not add to that total because Jackson Merrill robbed Yohan Moncada.
That catch helping Marquez through 5 2/3 scoreless innings last night. He allowed just a couple of hits. Kikuchi went 6 scoreless innings. We went to the 8th inning, still a 0-0 game. Ryan Zefferjohn back on the mound for the Angels in his 2nd inning of work. He walks Freddie Fermin and Jake Cronenworth to begin the inning. That created a golden opportunity for Ramon Laureano.
Laureano swings. That will find its way into center field and a base hit. Fermin rounding third. He's going to score an RBI single for Ramon Laureano. And the Padres have the first run of the night. Nothing here in the 8th.
Padres weren't done. Fernando Tatis Jr. was next.
Throwing, Laureano takes off. Fernando off the fist. Rolls it into right field, a base hit. Cronenworth will come in to score, and it's 2-0.
Jason Adam came on for the Padres in the bottom of the 8th inning. Padres leading 2-0 with 2 on and 2 out. It was Nolan Shawnuel.
Shawnuel swings, grounds it up the middle. That'll find its way into center and a base hit. O'Hoppe rounding third. He's going to score. Merrill's throw comes into second base. The Angels are on the board. It's 2-1 here in the 8th.
But the Padres responded in the top of the 9th inning. Ramon Laureano made it 3-1 with a sacrifice fly. Later in the inning, it was Nando again.
First pitch, Fernando swings, lines it into right center. That's down and a base hit. Fermin will come in to score. An RBI single, Fernando Tatis Jr. And the Padres have their biggest lead of the night. It's 4-1.
Padres had that 4-1 lead going to the bottom half of the 9th inning. It was time for Mason Miller.
The 0-2 to Frazier, swung on, grounded to right side. Cronenworth has got it. Jake's throw to first is in time, and the ball game is over. So, yeah, Mason had to work a little bit here tonight, but he picks up his 7th save. No runs cross the plate against him, and the Padres get back in the win column with a 4-1 victory over the Angels in Anaheim here tonight. Padres have now won 9 out of their last 10, 12 out of their last 14, and we'll have ourselves a rubber game here at Angel Stadium tomorrow afternoon.
And speaking of that rubber game, here we are with first pitch coming up at 1:07 p.m. The Padres going for a series win. As we get ready for this one, let's check in with Tony Gwynn Jr.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Tony, let's begin the conversation today with Mason Miller, who once again comes up with a save yesterday, his 7th of the season in as many opportunities. And Mason looked a little human yesterday, gave up a hit and a walk, but gets it done. The consecutive scoreless inning streak is up to 31 2/3 innings. It feels like everybody's talking about it right now, Tony, but to you, what continues to stand out about what Mason Miller is doing right now?
I mean, overall, it's been the command is what stands out. I mean, and ironically, as good as he was last night, that was probably one of his worst command outings in a while. I don't remember the last time he walked somebody. So it just speaks to how good he's been this year, that he can go out, punch out, 2 of the 3 guys he saw, even gave up a hit, which is almost unheard of, yet we're still talking about him in the same line. And that's just kind of the bar that he set, that, even in an outing like last night where he's pretty much, the walk and the hit is the only thing he gave up. It's kind of one of his worst outings, yet he got another save.
Michael King on the mound for the Padres in this series finale today, 2.78 ERA in 4 starts. He had a pretty good outing his last time out. And if you look at some of the numbers, Tony, he's been very good when he's been in a little bit of trouble. Runners on base, opponents batting just 116 against him. He struck out a lot of guys with runners on base in particular. To you, what's Michael King doing when he does get into trouble to find a way out of a lot of these jams?
He's just bearing down and making pitches. I think about what Nick Levitt said in terms of how he kind of breaks down the year. It's you got your A, B, and C starts. You're going to have a lot of starts that are in that C plus range, and you got to find a way to still figure it out. And I think that's what we've seen from Michael King. He's had some good outings, but the last few, he's kind of had to battle early and then kind of find his groove. And I think that's a part of the maturation of Michael King. He understands he's not going to be perfect or great every time, but when you look at the end results, the end product has been pretty good for Michael King.
Well, showing up to the ballpark today, we thought it would be left-hander Reed Detmers on the mound for the Angels. We found out a few hours ago it will not. He'll get pushed back, and instead it will be the 22-year-old right-hander Walbert Arena, number 18 prospect in the Angels organization, according to MLB.com. Making the start today, kind of interesting, made his major league debut in relief early this season. They've been stretching him out at AAA. I don't know that we know a ton about Arena, Tony, but generally against the guy that these hitters for the Padres have never seen before, what are they going to try to do today against a guy like Arena?
Well, he's high velocity. He's averaging about 98, 99 miles per hour with his sinker and his 4-pitch mix, the sweeper and the change that go along with those two. And he's had a lot of walks in the minor leagues. Doesn't mean it's going to happen today. I mean, Kikuchi came into yesterday not throwing the ball well, and I thought threw the ball as well as we've seen him in a little bit. And so, but I think they're going to wait him out. They're going to see if he can throw strikes, considering how wild he's been in the minor leagues. And they'll probably try to check to see what kind of sinker this is. If it's more flat, maybe they attack a little bit more. If he can't command it, maybe they look to hunt that pitch. But I think it's kind of a wait and see, because a lot of these guys haven't seen him. There'll probably be some mixed approaches. Some guys may go early the first time through. Some guys may check it out. And then I think you kind of come to a consensus after you kind of get through that first time through.
Tony, let's finish up with Miguel Andujar. He's been swinging the bat really well as of late, 6 for 11 with a couple of doubles in his last 3 starts. It almost feels like it's gone a little under the radar how well he's hit the ball. Tony, what do you feel like Miguel Andujar, who is back in the lineup here today, what do you feel like he's doing for this Padres lineup right now?
He's been phenomenal, and he's done exactly what the team brought him in for initially, which was to face lefties. He's hammered lefties. But he's also been pretty good against right-handers too. And he's probably been, one of the more consistent hitters, even though he's not in there every day. You certainly feel good about him hitting towards the bottom of that lineup to kind of get things rolling. He's been that guy, every time he's been in the lineup. So I think Miguel Andujar has been exactly what the Padres needed. He's back in there today, even though it was supposed to be a lefty. It's a righty. Kind of speaks to how good he's been swinging the bat.
And Duhar DHing and batting 7th today, and he has been swinging the bat really, really well as of late. Tony, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up towards the top of the hour. Thanks so much.
Yep.
All right, Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for first pitch coming up promptly at 1:07 p.m. When we come back, we'll revisit what Padres manager Craig Stamen had to say earlier today. Plus, a little bit later, I go one-on-one, a really good conversation with former Padres pitcher Mark Langston, who was a significant part of that team that went to the World Series in 1998. So a lot to do on our pregame coverage as we walk you up towards first pitch here at the Big A, the series finale between the Padres and Angels. Padres going for a series win. Our pregame coverage continues after this. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside Angel Stadium here in Anaheim as the Padres get ready for the final game of this three-game series against the Angels, going for a series win here today. Padres losing on Friday night, bouncing back with a nice win yesterday, and now they send right-hander Michael King to the mound here today, looking for a series win. As we get ready for today's game, let's hear from Craig Stamen.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres skipper Craig Stamen. Served up by Sinley Food. If you've had better chicken, you must be a rooster.
Day game after a night game, so no pregame media availability for Craig Stamen today. So let's revisit what Craig had to say after last night's win. A scoreless game going to the eighth inning. Both starting pitchers, German Marquez and Yusei Kikuchi, were very, very good. Padres finally breaking through in the eighth inning. Ramon Laureano, a go-ahead RBI single. Fernando Tatis Jr., an RBI single, made it 2-0. Angels would get a run in the bottom half of the eighth inning to make it 2-1. Padres then got two more in the ninth inning to make it 4-1. and Mason Miller shut the door, picking up his 7th save of the season. Here was Craig Stamen last night on his feeling as the game remained scoreless into the late innings.
We felt good about our bullpen and, felt good about our offense at the end of the game. So, a couple bleeders go through and, we score a few runs and then we tack some on in there at the end with some good situational baseball.
It hasn't been just tonight. The bottom of your order coming up with big hits. I mean, those two guys could have created runs earlier in the game too. But how big is that? Yeah,
exactly. We got good hitters at the bottom of the lineup, which is awesome. I feel like at any inning, we have a chance to put up some runs, and they were very patient right there. We got us a couple walks, and then the top of the lineup comes up and does their thing.
Jake did so after taking a pitch to the face. A, how's he doing? And B, kind of, what does it say about his staying the game and finishing up late?
Yeah, he's a hockey player, and he didn't lose any teeth, so he had to stay in the game. That was the rule. But no, he took one off the chin, literally, and toughed it out, and then stayed in the game and made some plays for us. We love having him out here. He's such a important piece of our team, even when he's not, producing the way he wants to offensively. He does so many other things that just help us to feel really comfortable with him in the lineup.
What do you think of the way Marquez kind of settled in after? Early it didn't necessarily look to get hard a little bit, and then kind of figured it out from there.
Yeah, a couple long fly balls, that got caught. Trout's hit to left, hit pretty hard right at Laureano, got out of those, and then he started cruising right after that, a bunch of strikeouts, and got him into the 6th, and really could have left him in there, but we decided, we got the bases down there in the bullpen, and Adrian came in and shut it down for him. Great pitching.
You had Kyle Hart warming up with 2 outs in the 8th. How much of that is his improvement against righties, and how much of that just wanted to pace Mason throughout a long season?
Yeah, it's pacing Mason. We weren't going to bring Mason in the 8th. And we were kind of going to let Jason go for it, do his job in the 8th and see what, ride him until, we kind of lost the lead. He was getting up there and pitching on like 30 pitches. We just didn't want him, a fresh pitcher sometimes is a little bit better than the guy that's thrown 30 pitches in one inning. And we felt good about the matchup with Moncada coming up and Hart in the bullpen. Moncada's a much better hitter left-handed than he is right-handed.
I think Merrill's latest home run robbery.
Yeah, he's starting to, make it a thing. And he stole that one from Toddy, I think, too. I think, Toddy thought he was going to get that one, too. I said, your boy's stealing your thunder. But it's nice to have 2 guys out there that can, steal one and take one back at any moment in the game.
Did you hold your breath for a second on the Tatis Merrill play?
I didn't think he got it originally, so I didn't think it was going to get to the seats. And then this wall is short enough that, we saw Joe Adell rob 3 home runs in one game. So there's an opportunity. And with those 2 guys out there, I feel pretty good about a ball in the air that long, possibly being caught if it stays in the yard. But, anytime you rob a home run, it's unexpected. And, now we're coming to expect these guys to do it every time, which is not fair to them.
Pretty fun to be able to bring in Adrian in like the 6th or so. You need someone to just put an end to a high leverage threat.
Yeah, it is very comforting to put a guy like Adrian in the game in a situation, you're going to face the top of the lineup a couple times at the end of the games from the 6th to the 9th. And it's nice to have one ace that can face him one time and then another guy that can face the next time. And, it's going to be awesome when we get Jeremiah Trotter back. He's going to be one of those guys that can do that too. So, we've built this team with a strong bullpen. AJ's done a great job keeping these guys and should be a reason why we win some games.
And Adrian, how has he come along? He's obviously coming off a great year. I thought he was kind of unlucky a few times this year. What are you seeing out of him? And with the changeup tonight, looking pretty good.
Yeah, he's made a few adjustments after those kind of rough ones where he's kind of getting peppered a little bit. Mixed up his pitches a little bit, changed some mechanical stuff, and then we're seeing kind of the results of that, of him turning on and being who we always knew he was. And it just shows you like baseball's funny. Like the greatest players can have tough games, and he had a couple tough games, but the good ones bounce back and turn it on when they need to.
That was Padres manager Craig Stamen last night after the Padres 4-1 win against the Angels. We'll hear more from Craig on our post-game coverage coming up later on this afternoon. Military Sunday on the Padres Radio Network is presented by your San Diego County Toyota dealers. If you're looking for a great deal on a new Toyota, head to Toyota.com. We make it easy. First pitch coming up at 1:07 here in Anaheim. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to step up their game? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not. Presented by ASAP Drain Guys and Plumbing, a division of Anderson Commercial, your full-service plumber serving San Diego County.
A look at the hot category today. Ramon Laureano in the midst of a 7-game hitting streak, batting .370 in that span with 2 home runs, 2 doubles, a triple, and 9 RBIs. Luis Camposano had an 8-game hitting streak snapped Friday, but he did walk twice on Friday night. Campy hit .376 in that 8-game stretch with 4 doubles, a home run, and 6 RBIs. As we mentioned with Tony earlier, Miguel Andujar is 6 for 11 with 2 doubles in his last 3 starts. And finally, Fernando Tatis Jr., yes, still searching for that elusive first home run of the season, but he is swinging the bat well right now, batting .409 with a double and 7 RBIs in his last 7 games. As far as the not category, we take a look at Jackson Merrill, who celebrates his 23rd birthday today. So happy birthday, Jackson, and hopefully a little birthday magic today, because Jackson is actually 0 for 9 in this series. So hopefully the birthday boy has some big moments here today. Jackson Merrill, still very, very young, turning 23 years old today. Happy birthday, Jackson. When we come back, I go one-on-one with former Padres pitcher Mark Langston, who is a longtime radio analyst for the Angels. Of course, Mark pitched for the Padres in 1998. A lot of good stuff coming up with Mark Langston. We'll also have some headlines from around the major leagues and much, much more. First pitch coming up at 1:07 here in Anaheim on the Padres Radio Network. Back here at the Big A in Anaheim as we get ready for the Padres and Angels rubber game of this 3-game series. Sam Levitt with you on the Padres Radio Network. As always, our pregame coverage brought to you by EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Visit EcoWaterSoCal.com or call 760-350-3338. I go one-on-one with former Padres pitcher Mark Langston in a moment, but first let's take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Just a couple of headlines for you today. Phillies placing their closer, Joan Duran, on the 15-day IL because of a strained left oblique. Duran hasn't pitched since April 11th, and Phillies manager Rob Thompson saying the injury is very mild, but he will be on the IL for at least a little bit of time. Bit of an interesting story for the Royals the last 24 hours. Royals captain Salvador Perez and manager Matt Quatraro said they were back on the same page earlier today after Perez had a social media post late yesterday that caused a little bit of drama between the team and their captain, Salvador Perez. The disconnect started after Perez was given the day off yesterday. And then the manager, Quatraro, told reporters that Salvi's been struggling a little bit, just trying to give him a little mental breather. Perez apparently took exception to the comment. He posted on X yesterday, quote, "I don't need a mental breather." And apparently they did talk today and iron things out, but that was an interesting little story yesterday involving the Royals and the manager and Salvador Perez. And those are just a couple of quick headlines for you from around the major leagues. We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up in a little bit. Well, Mark Langston, longtime California Angel, Anaheim Angel, and then, of course, pitched for the Padres in 1998, part of the team that won the National League pennant, pitched in the World Series for the Padres, appeared in the NL clinching game in Atlanta, Game 6 of the National League Championship Series, certainly a very significant part of that Padres team in 1998. Mark, now an analyst on the Angels radio side of things, has worked on the radio side with the Angels for quite some time. I caught up with Mark Langston earlier here at the Big A. Sam Levitt here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game against the Angels in Anaheim. And right now I'm joined by former Padre pitcher, 1998 Padre Mark Langston, one of the great radio analysts for the Angels for a long time now. Mark, good to catch up with you. I did want to start our conversation passing along my condolences to you and the rest of the Angels family. Some really sad news earlier in the week, learning about the passing of Garrett Anderson. I thought on Friday night they did such a wonderful job here honoring Garrett Anderson, all the ceremonies. What was it like for you to be here on Friday night and see the way people reacted to Garrett's legacy?
Yeah, the reaction was fantastic. And I, for Garrett, who likes to stay behind the scenes, I'm sure he would have been embarrassed by the ceremony, but it was a very difficult day. There's no doubt about it, because Garrett's a dear friend, and I was here with the Angels when he first came up, so I had seen Garrett ever since then. He's been doing the pre and post game, and he sits right behind me. So that part is I'm going to miss, but it's just his presence, his smile. And I would do some pre and post game stuff with him. And my job every time I felt when I was down there, I wanted to see him smile, because he had the most infectious smile. When he smiles, it lights up a room. So yeah, it was a very difficult day, and it's a difficult week because Davey Lopes, who was with that 1998 Padres staff, passed away just recently also. So it's, you know, to have two guys like that pass away. Obviously, Garrett's was really a young man at 53 years old, but both those guys passing, man, has just really affected me a little bit, because Davey meant a lot to me with that 98 team.
Can you describe, I guess, from your perspective, the kind of player that Garrett was? The numbers are one thing, they're outstanding, but from a teammate perspective?
He was always a great team, very quiet. I mean, he was very quiet, but very focused on what he did. His at-bats, you would watch his at-bats where other guys would struggle. Garrett had an unbelievable game plan when he stepped up to home plate. It just, in the clubhouse, you know, it's fun to make him smile and make him laugh, because you felt like he was always so locked in, so serious. To see him smile and have some fun. And he was cleverly witty behind, you know, when he would throw his stuff out there and it'd come out of left field. And, you know, it was just uncharacteristic for him to be, all of a sudden when he spoke, there would be some wit behind it. That was very, very fun to be around. just a great human being, just a really rock solid human being, just morally right, his feet dug deep into the ground. And it was just great to be around him. And every time that we got the, and again, it was a blessing for me to do a broadcast, and I have Tim Stamen behind me or Garrett. I had one of the two main guys in that Angels outfield behind me, and I would, in the middle of games, I would turn around and ask them questions about an at-bat or a play that's defensively, and to be able to get that knowledge from those guys is just really helpful.
Well, again, our condolences to you and the rest of the Angels family. We're joined by Angels radio analyst Mark Langston here on the Padres Radio Network. You are a part of the 1998 Padres team, the last Padres team to go to the World Series. In a general sense, when you reflect back on that season, now almost 30 years later, what do you remember?
The first thing comes to mind, I remember Davey Lopes, because I had a start in August in Milwaukee, and it did not go well at all for me. And there was a ton of lefties. I couldn't get the lefties out. And this was my 15th year in the big leagues. And I was like, all right, I'm done. I can't get a lefty out. I feel like I could get a blindfold on and get a lefty out, but I couldn't get the lefty out. And there was 6 or 7 of them. I remember coming in, and Tony Gwynn and I sat there, and I told him, that's it, I'm done. And Tony goes, stop. You're emotionally attached to the result. Give yourself a day or two and then make a decision. He goes, I've had this talk with myself, because where he was in his career, I can't do some of the things that I used to do when I was younger. And I go, Tony, I just feel like I'm done. So the game ends and the team comes in, and I tell everybody, that's it, I'm going to retire. And everybody was stunned and shocked. And then out of the blue, Davey Lopes, who never had anything to say to a pitcher ever, he walked into me and he said, have you ever stood on the line? He said, have you ever been to the postseason? I said, no, I've never been to the postseason. He said, well, this team's going to the postseason. Have you ever you've never stood on the line when they announce your names for postseason? I said, well, no, I've never. Yeah. He goes, you owe it to yourself to stand on that line. All those years that you played, you owe it to yourself to be out with this ball club for that. And that changed my whole mindset. I'm going, yeah, that's why I put a uniform on every day, is to get to the postseason, to get to a potential World Series. And if it wasn't for Davey, I would have went home. So Davey, I'll never forget that. That changed my whole attitude from that point on. And then, the run was the run. I mean, it was such a magical season right from the get-go. So many great players on that team. It was just a veteran team that just knew how to play. Boch, my locker, I looked right into Boch's office every day and go, Langer, what we got going out there? And I go, nothing's going on out here. So it was just a wonderfully tight-knit group of guys. We'd all go to dinner together on the road. We all were, every time anybody did anything, we were all kind of as a unit would go together. So many great personalities. It was a very, very close, tight team. That's what made it special from the start all the way to get to the World Series at the very end.
Now, thank you for sharing that amazing story about you having that conversation with Davey Lopes, because I want to play it forward. You think about Game 6, NLCS in Atlanta, clinching a berth in the World Series. You pitched in that clincher, faced one batter, struck him out. So in context, when you think about that conversation and then having that moment going to the World Series with that group that night in Atlanta, describe to me the emotions of that night.
Oh my gosh, you're trying to make me cry, because it was truly, that's what you dreamed of as a kid, and here I am living that dream out, being able to go to a World Series and being part of that scrum out on the mound. Everybody was so excited, being able to hold the trophy afterwards. Got some great pictures with myself and my wife and my daughter holding that National League Championship trophy, and just knowing that we're headed to New York to play the Yankees, and they're having a special season also. And I remember day one, our workout day in New York, going out on the field. Tim Raines, who I played with in Montreal, and Chili Davis, who I played with here, were both on the Yankees. And I ran out there when the Yankees were BP, and I said, what does it say on the side of my hat? And they said, 98 World Series. And I said, that's right, we're here at the World Series, boys. So many great moments. Obviously, that World Series didn't go our way. Certainly, that Game 1 was a wild, wacky game. And had things been a little bit different, had Kevin Brown been healthy, he was sick that day. and they milked him for as long as they possibly could. They got Kevin Brown. And usually when you have a 5-2 lead in the seventh, knowing you're probably maybe 4 outs from Trevor coming in, that you felt like that game was in our back pocket. And so many good things happened in game one until, that seventh inning kind of erupted and it went crazy.
Speaking of Trevor Hoffman, I'll finish up with closers because the Padres have one right now, and Mason Miller, who's as good as anybody in baseball right now. And obviously Trevor Hoffman would be on his way to Cooperstown. When you reflect on being Trevor's teammate and being a part of that run he had throughout the course of his career, how do you reflect on being Trevor's teammate and what he meant to that 98 team in particular?
Trevor, we were all veterans. Trevor was a little younger than all of us. So I remember when I first, in the month of September, they said you're going to pitch out of the bullpen because you don't need 5 guys in a rotation for the postseason. So I was going to the bullpen. I'd never been in the bullpen in my life. I've been a starter for 15 years. So I walked down to the bullpen. They're all standing there. Nobody's taking a seat yet. And Trevor comes up to me and he goes, "Pick your chair, whatever chair you want, it's yours." And I go, "No, no, you guys sit where you normally sit. I'll sit on a folding chair down there. I don't care, so." But that's the kind of guy Trevor was. Trevor was all about the time that you had in the game. He was just locked in on all of the fundamental stuff that meant stuff to me. Trevor was all about all of that. And I remember the first time they played Hell's Bells for Trevor because that was a new thing. And they played that, the streak that he went on. I think there was 50 straight saves in a row or something like that. Trevor is just a wonderful guy to be around. He's very focused, but he'll have his fun once the game is done.
Right.
We have a good time. We celebrate. But Trevor is one of the most unique professionals I've ever been around. When it was game time, time for him to come in, you would never see anybody more locked in than Trevor.
Mark, really appreciate the time. Thank you so much for sharing the great memories about 1998. So many great stories. Have a great rest of the season in the booth and enjoy the rest of the year. We'll catch up with you next time.
All right. And that 2-2 pitch was a strike to Tina, by the way.
I was going to ask you at some point about ABS, what you thought. It kind of feels...
I'm still tapping
right.
my head.
It feels like with ABS would have been a different story, right?
Oh, 1,000%. And you don't know how that whole series would have changed, but it would have changed that inning, definitely. And I'm still tapping my hat right now when I see that.
Well, maybe a little silver lining. All of San Diego will always think it was indeed strike 3. Mark, again, thank you for the time.
My pleasure.
Really, really good conversation there with former Padres pitcher Mark Langston. Yeah, it does make you wonder if they had only had ABS back then. Maybe that would have been strike 3, and who knows, maybe that 1998 World Series goes a different way. As we get ready for this series finale here in Anaheim, let's give you today's injury report.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
A few updates for you on the Padres side of things. Right-hander Griffin Canning continues to rehab from that left Achilles tear suffered last summer with the Mets. He has now made 3 rehab starts with AAA El Paso. He continues to build up kind of like a normal spring training, and we'll continue to keep you posted on his status, but starting to sound like he's not all that far away. Jeremiah Estrada still on the IL with right elbow tendonitis, and no update on him right now. He has been playing catch. We'll continue to give you updates on Jeremiah as he works his way back. Nick Pivetta, of course, on the IL with that flexor strain. It's going to be a while for Pivetta. Still no timetable on him, but he's going to miss weeks, if not months, before he returns. And he exited that start on April 12th with elbow stiffness, and ultimately he was diagnosed as a flexor strain. Yuki Matsui still in the midst of his rehab assignment, working his way back from that left groin strain suffered during spring training. And Joe Musgrove still working his way back from the pause he had during spring training as he works his way back from Tommy John surgery. And as we continue to get updates on those guys throughout this coming week, we will be sure to pass them along. When we come back, a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, plus we tell you what to watch for in today's game. First pitch coming up at 1:07 between the Padres and Angels right here on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues from Angel Stadium. First pitch coming up at 1:07 p.m. We go out to Jesse and Tony and welcome them into the broadcast in under 10 minutes. Starting pitching matchup today, right-hander Michael King on the mound for the Padres and right-hander Walbert Urania on the mound for the Angels. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
A lot of games going on right now. Nationals lead the Giants 3-0 in D.C. in the 8th inning. Pirates lead the Rays 6-2 in Pittsburgh in the 8th inning. Guardians 6, Orioles 4 in the 8th inning in Cleveland. The Marlins lead the Brewers 5-1 in the 7th inning in Miami. Twins ahead of the Reds 3-1 in the 7th inning in Minnesota. Cardinals lead the Astros 4-1 in Houston in the 6th inning. Mets ahead of the Cubs 1-0 at Wrigley in the 6th inning. Mets looking to snap a 10-game losing skid. Dodgers ahead of the Rockies 2-0 in Colorado in the 3rd. We have one game in a rain delay before first pitch. That's the Royals and the Yankees in New York. Games coming up later. White Sox in Sacramento against the A's at 1:05. Rangers and the Mariners in Seattle at 1:10. Blue Jays in Arizona against the D-backs at 1:10. And the Tigers and Red Sox at 1:35 at Fenway. Braves and the Phillies at 4:20 in Philadelphia. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll have much more details on all those games coming up a little bit later in our post-game coverage. Let's tell you what to watch for in this series finale.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovements.com.
What to watch for on this Sunday, the return of Jorge Soler to the Angels lineup. He missed the previous 4 games in the first 2 games of this series because of a suspension that stemmed from his fight with Braves pitcher Reynaldo Lopez back on April 7th. Soler was initially suspended for 7 games, but an appeal lowered it to 4. He has not had very good success in his career against Michael King. 0-for-12 against King in his career with 5 strikeouts and a couple of walks. And Soler does obviously have great power, 5 home runs in 18 games this season. So Jorge Soler, somebody we have not seen so far in this series. He's back in the Angels lineup today, cleaning up and DHing. Let's take a look at our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game on the Padres Radio Network.
Key number 1, the bullpen boys. Padres bullpen really good again yesterday. 3 1/3 innings between Adrian Morejon, Jason Adam, and Mason Miller. They gave up just 1 run. Padres bullpen now a collective 2.94 ERA on the season, 3rd lowest ERA of any bullpen in baseball. Mason Miller obviously continues to be terrific. 31 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings going back to early August of last year. He's now 2 scoreless innings away from tying Clay Meredith for the longest scoreless inning streak in Padres franchise history. Key number 2, rake against their relievers. Angels relievers have an 8.37 ERA while walking 13 and giving up 6 home runs in their last 23 2/3 innings. Padres did a good job against that bullpen last night. Let's see if they can do it again here today. Key number 3, Team Trout. After homering in all 4 games of a 4-game set in the Bronx earlier this week, the Padres have limited Mike Trout to just 1 hit in 7 at-bats. Trout had 5 home runs in that 4-game set in New York earlier in the week. And that's a look at the keys to today's game. Also, how about this? Is today the day for Fernando? Fernando Tatis Jr. continues to lead the majors with a 69.5% hard hit rate this season, but he's yet to hit a home run. He has the 3rd most plate appearances in baseball right now without having a home run. So is today the day for Fernando? Well, We're going to find out. Hopefully it is. Hopefully Fernando can hit that elusive first home run of the season here today. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Padres falling on Friday night, bouncing back last night with a win, and today they go for a series win here at the Big A. When we come back, Jesse and Tony have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.
Since Carpet Barn is San Diego's